Christine and I have to go to the makeup room before the show. We do that every day. And I'm in there for about 15 minutes. And in the morning, a guy comes and they put a little makeup and they put your hair. And my hair was all spiky. And I said, I'd like to do that from now on, but I don't think my company would like it. And I said, I don't really care. I want to do it from now on. And then Christine goes, you know, it's funny because I'd like to wear a T-shirt. She goes, the day I wore a T-shirt, I got more feedback because I was comfortable and authentic. And I'm like, you look great in T-shirts. Maybe you should wear T-shirts.
Well, and just like more natural.
Yeah.
I don't like being really made up. And
Yeah. And I said, I like to wear my hair like I would like more spiky and like I don't care. So you can vote yes or no on this, but I am strongly encouraging all Americans who watch this show, do you want a more authentic show between us? Now, it may scare your children. It may scare your pets. It's not going to look very good. Advertisers will flee. It is not good for this network. Ratings will plummet. But we're going to pick a day in the next 2 weeks where I don't give a rip, and you're going to wear a T-shirt, and I'm going to do my hair, and I'm going to do it like I want to do it, and like I don't care if anybody likes it. I haven't okayed this with my boss. I don't boycott, but I may boycott not being allowed to do the hair the way I want for one day. So that's going to come next week. You pick the day next 2 weeks or something like that, and then we'll have it, and we'll do it.
I always wonder when you're watching shows where people are all in suits and like really fancy dresses, is that because the viewers like it? I don't know. When I watch TV, I'd rather see like cool outfits that I would want to wear, and I definitely don't want to wear a suit.
Agree. I don't wear ties. They make me wear one on Sunday. I hate it.
Yeah.
So last night, I don't talk about death on the show. I never really have. It's nothing against people who die, but I don't think most of you want to look in the rearview mirror. You want to talk about what's big today, tomorrow, and the next day. I don't talk about death very much on this show. But an American icon died last night. His name was Hugh Hefner. He was iconic and a maverick, and he was the LeBron James of sex. We'll get to that in a second because they have a lot in common. Hugh Hefner was a big First Amendment person. During the civil rights era, at Playboy, he hired black writers. He was a smart man who was willing to deconstruct the dominant ideology of his time. The don't get it crowd is wrong on everything. The don't get it crowd was the first group of people to run to social media and say player mobility's bad. Really? Yeah. NBA final last year, highest in 20 years. Hugh Hefner supported gay marriage when nobody else would talk about it. Hugh Hefner had one of my favorite quotes of all time. Life is too short to live somebody else's dream. That's exactly what LeBron did. And the don't get it crowd never, ever thought Hugh Hefner was appropriate. And the don't get it crowd has been complaining about LeBron James. History will be very kind, my friends, to Hugh Hefner and LeBron. They were right on social issues, right on inclusion, and right on empowerment. They challenged dominant ideologies. Wrong guy was wrong on Hefner. He was a prude. And wrong guy whiffed on player mobility and LeBron. All the great advancements in America, media, technology, socially, and sports are people that challenge ideology. Hefner said, it's sex. What are you afraid of? LeBron said, players deserve more power. What are you afraid of? In so many ways, do a little research. Don't be a prude. Look up how far ahead of his time Hugh Hefner was. It was just sex, folks. If you're not getting it at home, I know where you're at. $9 billion a year on internet porn. It's just sex. Why be dishonest about it?
He just brought that right into his own bedroom. Multiple people.
You're all going on the internet. He just was, with people and stuff. And LeBron James, what are you afraid of? Look it up. The guy was amazing. By the way, I hear a lot of this all the time. This is something that kind of wears me out. The everybody cheats crowd. I saw stories yesterday. I called 2 major college basketball coaches last night. And we talked about this. This is what people who cheat on their wives and cheat on their taxes and cheat on recruiting. They all use the same defense. Everybody does it. That, of course, is code for cheaters. That's the language of the ethically challenged. Everybody does it. By the way, one of the coaches I called last night was Mark Few at Gonzaga. 18 years in a row they've made the tournament. He wins on average 27 games, puts all sorts of players in the NBA. In the last 5 years, he's tied with Duke for 12 tournament wins. Yeah, that's right. I said Duke. In the last 3 years, Elite Eight, Sweet 16, and title game. In the last 3 years, the cheaters at Louisville, Elite Eight, self-imposed ban, round of 32. You don't have to cheat and have a brothel on campus to win, folks. The less talented, the less focused, the less driven, and the lazier love to use the everybody cheats. That's because they're lazier. They don't put the prep into the show. They don't put the time into recruiting. They don't put the work into the really well-written column. Lazy people use that excuse. Everybody cheats. That's the code of the cheater, the ethically challenged. By the way, I talked to another college basketball coach last night, and Mark Few agreed with this. Less than 25% of coaches truly deceptively cheat. Both the coaches said the shoe company business is sort of gross. One recruiter last night I talked to said, don't you think it's sort of interesting the number one player on the East Coast just visited Oregon, the number one Nike school? But let me tell you this. You know why people cheat? You know why they cheat in their wife and their taxes? You know why they do this and they cheat in recruiting? Because it's self-imposed pressure. Mark Few may never win a title. His job is safe. John Calipari is at the number one basketball program in America. He's got one title in 8 years. Unfireable. John Calipari's got one title in 8 years. His job's as safe as any in the country. In fact, if you ask me the 3 safest jobs in college basketball, I'd say Mark Few, John Calipari, and Mike Krzyzewski. It's self-imposed pressure. Calipari got into Rick Pitino's head. I'm not naive, nor am I a moralist, but I don't buy the code of cheaters that everybody does blank. Everybody doesn't cheat on their wife, and everybody isn't embezzling, and everybody doesn't cheat on their taxes. And I'm not naive. Everybody doesn't wake up in the morning looking to cheat. And I told Mark Few what I told you yesterday, that college basketball recruiting is like a married guy walking on the Las Vegas Strip at 2 in the morning. Those are not really temptations if you marry the right person for the right reasons. And if you got into this business for the kids and not the pinstripe suit, temptation isn't that hard to turn down. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
There's a report out today that officials within the Panthers organization believe that Cam Newton's body is already starting to break down, even though he's a young guy.
Wow.
The report goes on to say that, to be fair, the officials haven't talked to Newton's doctors, but they're trying to figure out why he hasn't been great so far this season. Some are saying that he's just rusty after missing the entire offseason program. Others say that the offensive line has been the issue, and also that maybe his body's just breaking down.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it doesn't matter how big you are. Like, if you get hit, chronically, habitually hit, your body breaks down. Doesn't matter if you're a big player or a small player. Don't get hit.
Sometimes when you're big, also, it could make you even more injured because you're carrying around all that weight.
Yes, Shaq was the biggest, strongest guy in the league, and his feet went out on him.
Mm-hmm. However, depending on how you want to look at this, it doesn't seem like Bill Belichick believes this whole thing about Cam breaking down. He said he's still a very good opponent.
He makes good decisions. He can run. He's strong. He's able to tackle. He can do a lot of different things, beats in a lot of different ways. Not saying the other guys aren't a problem, because they are. But he'd be public enemy number one.
He called him public enemy number one, and then he smiled. And I don't think Bill Belichick, when he smiles, there's something to it, because he never smiles.
Cam's the biggest, strongest, most athletic person, arguably, to ever play the position. He's just, like, if you didn't know football and you watched the tape, you would go, who's that guy playing that position?
So you think he's just trying to, sometimes he builds up the opponent so that it doesn't seem like they're not taking him seriously.
Builds up every opponent.
Yes. And finally, this is odd, and I'm really struggling with this whole Facebook thing. Facebook is huge. Apparently, it's the number one social media platform.
Yeah.
Not Instagram, not Twitter. Twitter, I understand, but Instagram, I think, is great. Facebook has struck a deal with the NFL.
Yeah.
So users are now going to watch team highlights on the platform immediately after games, and they're creating exclusive Facebook highlight shows. It's a 2-year deal.
Yes, it's going to be a big deal. By the way, the media loves Twitter because the media feels empowered on Twitter. Twitter's an ant. Facebook's an elephant. This is a big, big, big deal.
I agree. I don't know. Like, people my age, or at least the people who I hang out with, don't use Facebook, and it seems like it's more of an older thing.
Christine, our show gets 300.
I know.
No. 300 million hits a year for this show.
Uh-huh.
Twitter supplies about 20%.
I hear you. I think Twitter's out anyways. I'm talking about Instagram and YouTube, I think is really big. Facebook, I just don't really know people my age, but maybe I'm just living in a weird bubble. But it seems like Facebook's maybe even older.
You do live in Hollywood.
I do.
It's sort of a weird bubble.
I do, but
it's a bubble and weird.
But my friends, my age group, people I talk to use Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, but they're Hollywood weirdos.
But I just think as time goes on, no, my friends are not Hollywood weirdos. As time goes on, I wonder if Facebook will minimize and Instagram and YouTube will get bigger because, as we get older, that's what will happen. Regardless, Facebook's great too. But my question is, why is the NFL giving this to Facebook? Why isn't the NFL doing it with their own network?
Because the NFL realizes Facebook's a monster, and if you're not in bed with Facebook, Facebook controls 92% of the internet. 92%. I think it's Google and Facebook are 92% of all internet money. If you're not doing business with Facebook, you're idiotic.
But at the same time, I would say it would be taking away from their own app or anything that you could watch.
The NFL would trade the NFL Network away for a nickel tomorrow.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
And that must be where it's going.
All right, Christine, with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping.